mysterious volcanic eruption came from Campi Flegrei Caldera, the supervolcano of Italy. The caldera-forming eruption of Campi Flegrei, Italy, 40,000 years ago, is the largest known eruption in Europe during the last 200,000 years. This is according to the Geological Society of America. But little is known about other large eruptions at the volcano prior to a more recent caldera-forming event only 15,000 years ago. The caldera-forming eruption of Campi Flegrei, Italy, near Napoli, 40,000 years ago, is the largest known eruption in Europe in the last 200,000 years. Not much is known about the other large eruptions at the volcano prior to a more recent caldera-forming event that took place 15,000 years ago. A new geology article by Paul Albert and his colleagues discusses a 29,000-year-old eruption, here verified as coming from Campi Flegrei, that spread a volcanic ash layer more than 150,000 square kilometers of the Mediterranean. So we had the 40,000-year-ago eruption, and then they had another one around 29,000 years, about a 10,000-year difference, and then from 29,000 years they had a 15,000-year. So just about every 10 to 15,000 years it looks like it erupts. Now, knowledge of the large explosive eruptions is mostly established from geological investigations of the exposed deposits found around the source volcano, with the deposits of large eruptions forming thick sequences. But since the late 1970s, a widespread volcanic ash layer dated at about 29,000 years ago was commonly identified in marine and lake sediment cores from across the Mediterranean, documenting the occurrence of a large magnitude eruption. And despite this widespread distribution and relatively young age, no clear evidence of such an event was identified at any of the main active volcanoes in that region. Now, we had this explosion about 29,000 years ago. About, 27,000 years ago, we also had another supervolcano eruption, the Taupo volcano of New Zealand, of the North Island of New Zealand. And that was so devastating that they say that it did away with almost, two-thirds of the life, and it even caused an almost extinction-level event of humans. Anthropologists estimated that there were only about 2,000 couples left worldwide to repopulate the human population. That's how devastating that was. So this one was about 2,000 years before the New Zealand supervolcano eruption. Now, going back to Campi Flegrei, meaning the burning fields, Campi Flegrei. In this study, the team's detailed chemical analysis of the volcanic glass of an eruption deposit found 5 kilometers northeast of Campi Flegrei Caldera in Naples, Italy, are entirely consistent with the distinctive composition of this ash layer. This, combined with new dating of the near-source eruption deposit, verifies that Campi Flegrei was responsible for this widespread ash layer. Constraints on the size of the eruption were determined by the team using a computational ash dispersal model, which integrated the thickness of the near-source eruption deposits, named here the Masseria del Monte Tuff, with those of the related ashfall across the Mediterranean. And here you see the tremendous amount of coverage. The whole of the Mediterranean, except for the area around, I would say, Cairo, Egypt, and Asia Minor, and Cyprus, and Israel, but it crossed all over the Balkans and into central Russia, as you can see. Now, the results indicate that the eruption of Campi Flegrei Caldera was similar in scale to the younger of the two known large magnitude caldera-forming eruptions at the volcano, the Neapolitan yellow tuff, that was about 15,000 years ago. The Masseria del Monte Tuff eruption was smaller than the older caldera-forming eruption the enormous Campanian ignimbrite about 40,000 years ago, which dispersed ash as far as Russia, more than 2,500 kilometers from the volcano, as we can see here from this map here. Now, the 29,000-year-old Masseria del Monte Tough eruption, positioned between known caldera-forming events, significantly reduces the recurrence interval of large magnitude events in the eruptive history of Campi Flegrei Caldera, the supervolcano, that is. In contrast to other large magnitude events at Campi Flegrei, the lack of thick, traceable deposits for this eruption appear to be the results of the eruption dynamics and their destruction and burial by more recent activities. Now, this research highlights the benefits of investigating explosive eruption records preserved as ashfall in sedimentary rocks when attempting to accurately reconstruct the tempo and magnitude of past activity at highly productive volcanoes such as Campi Flegrei. This is Science Daily's article. So over the last 60 years now, this volcanic region, which is made up of 24 craters and edifices, has shown signs of unrest currently. Scientists have been studying it, monitoring it closely to understand the changes taking place. In the study published by Science Advances, a team of researchers by Francesca Forni from ETH Switzerland examined rocks, mineral, and glass samples taken from the 23 eruptions at Campi Flegrei, including the two biggest ones from the last 60,000 years. And the analysis of the elements within these samples, researchers were able to construct a picture of what was happening before and after the eruptions. And their findings show that magma is building beneath the volcanic system. It is now building, and that it is entering a new caldera cycle. This could indicate that the volcano is moving towards a new phase that will result in a large eruption at the site. This is what the team says. The study does not indicate that the eruption will be soon, however. The analysis of the elements say that there were critical changes in the temperature and the water content of this magma at certain points in the eruptive history. Minerals in the magma were found to decrease over time, while water content increased. They found that this happened before the Monte Nuovo eruption. The team said that after the Monte Nuovo eruption, Campi Flegrei entered a new phase of inactivity, and since the 1950s there have been 3 major periods of unrest, and it raised concerns that the volcano is now reawakening. The movement of the magma from depths of about 5 miles to 1.8 miles has previously been blamed for this unrest. The latest findings say that it's consistent with the presence of water-saturated magma in the upper crust. It allows for the buildup of the huge magma reservoir. They say, we propose that the subvolcanic plumbing system at Campi Flegrei is currently entering a new buildup phase. And the geologists say that this could culminate at some undetermined point in the future in a large volume eruption. This is what they conclude. Luca de Sion from UK's University of Aberdeen, who has previously published research on Campi Flegrei, a supervolcano, comments and says that at Campi Flegrei, an outstanding question is why we cannot see the plumbing system of the volcano below the 2.5 to 3 mile depth, as at Yellowstone caldera, for example. We can see that, but why can't we see this here in Campi Flegrei? That's a good question. Forni and her team suggest that a large, highly evolved, relatively cold magma layer may be absorbing most of the energy we send down to reconstruct the deeper structures. So this problem is typically of sub-basaltic oceanic settings where deeper reservoirs are invisible to the seismic imaging. Their findings open possibility to model the effects of these magmatic layers on monitoring recording, allowing to reconstruct their shape and dimensions and eventually see them how they're acting below. Now, should an eruption occur, the best guess is that it will have a size and behavior similar to that seen during the past 15,000 years. That means it's ranging from size of the last eruption, about 0.02 cubic kilometers, to something similar to the eruption of Vesuvius that overwhelmed Pompeii and Heraclium about 70 AD. Remember that? 1 cubic kilometer. These are the scenarios being used to prepare mitigation plans. The paper changes tack in its final paragraph. They argue that the 1538 eruption represents the squeezing out of magma from the vestige of a magma reservoir. It suggests that carbon dioxide emissions indicate the possible replenishment of the reservoir, and it hints at the possible start of a buildup to a large volume eruption. That statement is speculative and does not depend on the preceding results. So it's either like the one we had in Pompeii, 70 AD, or it will be a super eruption. One or the other. Take your pick. This was from parts of USA Headline News on Campi Flegrei from 2018. I'll leave a link below for you for this as well. If you'd like to join me on my Patreon account, you will hear content not covered by mainstream media. These riveting stories will be based on my research, and I will state my opinions and give my personal insight on diverse and controversial subjects and world events not covered by mainstream media, and not supported by YouTube guidelines. So whatever I have on my Patreon, most of those will not be on my YouTube channel. Please consider becoming a member today. More of the most significant and important videos will be on my Patreon channel. Your support helps me to continue my research and keeps this YouTube channel alive. And we depend on your support, your generous charity, because we help economically challenged families here in Athens, Greece, in Kapota, and we also help the young generation with university tuition and the community around our church. Thank you.